Okay, John. All right. Interesting technique. It's really an interesting technique. It bothers me. It bothers me. It does. And I think that's the intent. This is a very visually, it creates an enormous amount of uncomfortable visual tension. And I mean, I think we can clearly see that. I think this is meant to kind of keep us on edge here. It's definitely not comfortable. It's not, it's bothersome a little bit. And I think that's, don't get me wrong, I think that's the intent of the artist. I really do. I think that the artist intends to create a very uncomfortable visual tension here. As far as the technique goes, yeah, the technique is good. I mean, we're looking at the flat avatar style here, as it were, right? And the relevance of that is that, I just want students when we looked at this assignment and we said, okay, let's go flat avatar with this. What is the reasoning behind that? And the reasoning to me is that we want students to be able to take a look at the depiction of light and shadow in a way that doesn't point directly to digital design. So gradients points to digital design, right? So we don't want our illustrations to immediately say digital illustration, created on a computer. We want our illustrations to be timely. So, a lot of times I think about the illustrative styles of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and that's what I shoot for when I do my own illustrative work. I try to stay away from digital techniques as much as possible, and I think to a high degree gradients are a very indicative of digital techniques. Now, if you're going for hyper realism, yeah, we're going to use gradients. As a matter of fact, we're going to use a gradient map. I'm sorry, we're going to use a gradient mesh, and that's a gradient on steroids. As you've seen, I did a tutorial this week regarding the gradient mesh. It's really intense, and you get hyper realism, but not all illustrations are shooting for that, right? I think this one is to a degree. Now, there's a couple of things that are going on in this image that I want to ask you about in terms of the actual content itself. Why is she purple? Why is she blue over here? Why is she blowing a bubble gum? Why is she looking? What is the designer trying to communicate here? And also, I want your opinion on whether this is visually uncomfortable, as I see it to be. Okay, and that's your question for the week. Just kind of address this a little bit further in terms of, what the message is. What is the artist's intent? What is the message behind the illustration? And is that message tied in with the style? See what I'm saying? Okay, so address those comments, and great job. Thank you very much. A great description of your observations associated with the example. All right, thanks, John.